to 3000% Voltron Love with Mel, that-meiko-girl. Today, I'd like to touch on the crack in VLD's original demographic focus. And man, the toys geared towards dads and their sons formula must be endangered if it needs to be preserved even in its failure. My opinion. It makes no sense as to why a company would gladly accept that kind of cash, but turn away the barrels of free money of those outside the target demographic, practically thrown their way. They aren't the right demographic. Move on. Well, allow me to share some info with you. The toys that we're shown to be for boys versus the ones for girls are programmed in our heads by society. Society coaxes us into believing that only girls should love pink, glittery things and infant-like dolls, Barbie dolls, princesses, and playing house, while boys are the ones who should only be into action figures, tools, and cars. Think back to all the commercials you'd see come on as a kid. The girls were usually doing something to prepare them for taking care of a family, while the boys got the wild, clear, blockbusting commercials. Remember those? Personally, I was never the type of girl who enjoyed playing house. I found it boring and I despised it. While other girls around me instinctively went to it during playtime, I was the one playing Street Fighter with the boys, or passing out my Sonic comics and PSMs around the tables for them to read. And PSM was not just my jam. It was my jam! And I was the girl who wanted those remote-controlled monster trucks and police cars and who always wanted to go to a monster truck show. I was the girl who looked for clothes in the boys sections because they had the cooler shirt designs like for Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, whereas the girls just got some other rendition of Barbie or Minnie Mouse or Tinkerbell. I ain't want that. And this is certainly no offense or shade to those who do like it. This is my own personal preference here. What I'm saying is, despite society using subliminal messaging in an attempt to brainwash us all into believing what we want and need, we, ourselves, are naturally drawn to what interests us most. And that gender barrier thing doesn't kick in as a quote-unquote issue until we actually think about it. Say you're a guy who loves pink sparkly nail polish, and when you see some in the store, you zoom over to it and pick it up without thinking anything of it. But then, it's only a second later the programming of society sets in and you might uneasily look around to see who might be watching before placing the nail polish back down. And instead of buying what you really wanted, you purchase something you hate using, like power tools, because you don't want to be laughed at. In my eyes, there are no girls only or boys only toys, merchandise, or what have you. What exists are the things you like, the things you have great interest in, and the things you really, really love. So, for a company to either ignore the influence of another demographic, cancel the show because they think female viewers wouldn't buy action figures like a boy would, or to shrink away from acknowledging how powerful in number the female and queer fan base might be, is deplorable and ignorant behavior. Just saying. Traditional doesn't always mean better or best. Traditional is also a subjective word. Instead of a company making excuses about the wrong demographic won't buy the type of merch they plan to sell, how about making goods that people actually want and specifically ask for? Of course, it might also help if the toys are appealing to the eye, cause that can cause sales to plummet real quick. Cheryl Keith, I love you, but daggone. It's like staring into an abyss that soullessly gawks back at you. Sorry, man. No. I think that a company would want to take advantage of all the numbers they have in all fans. Do they know how much a passionately inspired audience would casually spend? There have been quite a few times where, after buying groceries, I dropped some cash on some VLD merch, and As I've mentioned before in my first 3000% Voltron love video, it's something I normally would not do. I'm usually the monotonous type. I could eat the same thing, repeat the same routine, buy the exact same groceries over and over and over and over again, day in and day out. So the fact I'd be inspired to break that cycle and splurge on some merch? Hello? Adapt to your shifts in demographics, companies. That's right, that was a snap. So if the boys and their daddies equal action figures model doesn't work along with those who are watching, there is nothing wrong catering to the audience who are willing to throw cash at you. There is nothing wrong bending over backwards for this audience if they are supplying you constantly with money. People want to give the companies money. How hard is it to gain proper research and supply the fans with what they wish for? Cash has no gender. There is no population of money in their own little village somewhere, taking care of money babies or anything like that. Cater to your fans, instead of clinging to a method that keeps failing when the demographic you don't want gets involved, of which is inevitable. You do know continuously doing the same thing while expecting a different result counts as insanity, right? In the immortal words of Owen Hart, enough is enough and it's time for a change! And that's said with 3000% Voltron love.